psychological principle, cognitive and metacognitive factors, motivational and affective factors, developmental and social factors, and individual differences factors, LCPP.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark Darren Francisco, and today I will be explaining the background of learner-centered psychological principles. Now, you may ask, why does psychology matter in education? Psychology has always given school valuable knowledge about how people learn, how they develop, and what motivates them. Throughout history, it has shaped the way education is designed, and especially in the past few decades. Psychology has made huge contributions through research about thinking, memory, and motivation that can directly improve teaching and learning in school. But then, another question comes.
What?
If psychology already helps, why do we still need change? The answer is because school continues to face problems. Many students drop out, some perform poorly, and overall there are many signs of school failure. Educators see this and say we need to shift to a more learner-centered model. So, what does learner-centered means? It means that instead of focusing mainly on the system, the curriculum, or the teachers, school should put the learners at the center. Students are not all the same. They have different backgrounds, abilities, and learning style. A learning-centered model respects this difference and even uses them to make learning richer and more effective. Another important point are these principles are really new? Actually, no. The learner-centered psychological principles are grounded in over a century of research in psychology. They are supported by findings from many areas: developmental, educational, social, clinical, organizational, and community psychology. This means these principles are not only scientifically based but also reflect on the wisdom and practice of education through the years. Now, let's think. What do these principles do? They provide a framework for social redesign. They emphasize that learning is both active and reflective. Learners don't just sit and receive information, they construct meaning. They think and they take responsibilities for their own learning. And so, if we want school to truly improve, we must redesign them with the learner as a primary source or focus. Lastly, you may ask, what's the biggest goal here? The goal is to use this principle as guide for reforming schools, to support lifelong learning, to promote healthy human development, and to build productive in society. Psychology, together with education and other fields, can help create not just better school, but also better future for our learners and our nation. That's all. Thank you.
I'm according to the values, and now I'll be discussing the cognitive and metacognitive factors. Number 1. Nature of learning process. The learning of complex subject matter is most effective when it is an intentional process of constructing meaning from information and experiences. This means that the learning isn't just about soaking up facts like sponge. It's about getting your hands dirty, to speak, and building your own understanding. Think of it like a constructing a house. You don't just pile up bricks. You carefully fit them together to create a solid structure. Similarly with learning, you connect new information to what you already know, question things that don't make sense, and build a personal understanding of the topic. You set the goal for yourself, pay attention to how you learn best, and take responsibility for your own education. It's about being an active builder of your own knowledge, not just a passive receiver of information. You find resources, work with others, and think about what you've learned to make it stick. This helps you go from knowing facts to truly understanding them. Goals of the learning process. The successful learner over time and with support and instructional guidance can create meaningful, coherent representation of knowledge. Having clear goals is like having a map for a learning journey. It helps you know where you're going and what you need to do to get there. These goals give you a reason to learn, help you focus on what's important, and let you see how far you've come. When your goals match your interest and what you want to achieve in life, learning becomes more meaningful and enjoyable. As you work towards your goals, you start to connect the dots and see how everything fits together. You fill in the gaps in your knowledge, clear up any confusions, and get a deeper understanding of the subject. Getting support from teachers or mentors is super important because they can help you set good goals, find the best way to learn, and overcome any obstacles you face. In the end, having clear goals helps you not only learn more, but also develop skills that will help you learn for the rest of your life. A successful learner can link new information with existing knowledge in meaningful ways. Learning isn't about stuffing your brain with isolated facts. It's more like building a web of knowledge where everything is connected. When you learn something new, you try to link into what you already know. This might mean adding to your existing knowledge, changing your old ideas, and even completely rethinking how you understand something. When you connect new information to what you already know, it becomes more easier to remember, use, and apply in new situations. You can make these connections by finding similarities and differences, using examples that relate to your life, or drawing diagrams that shows how things are connected. By actively trying to link new information to what you already know, you can create a stronger and more lasting understanding. This helps you go beyond just memorizing and truly grasp the concepts. Strategic thinking. The successful learner can create and use architecture of learning and reasoning strategies to achieve complex learning goals. Learning isn't just about passively absorbing information. It's about having a toolbox of different thinking skills and knowing when and how to use them. This means using problem-solving strategies, thinking critically about information, and having good study habits. It's not enough to just know these strategies. You need to be able to choose the right way for the task and at hand and adapt it as needed. You also need to reflect on how well the strategy worked and learn from your experience. By developing these strategic thinking skills, you become a more effective and efficient learner you're able to. Thinking. How are the strategies for selecting and monitoring mental operations facilitates creative and critical thinking? Metacognition is all about being aware of your own thinking. It's like having a little voice in your head that's constantly asking, what am I doing? What am I doing it? And is it working? It means knowing your strengths and weaknesses as a learner. Keeping track of your progress and changing your learning strategies when needed. Good learners use metacognitive skills to set realistic goals, plan their learning, find and fix their mistakes, and judge how well they understand something. They're not just robots following instructions. They're active and self-aware learners who take charge of their own education. By thinking about your thinking, you can become a more effective, efficient, and independent learner. Number 6. Context of learning. Learning is influenced by environmental factors including culture, technology, and instructional practices. Learning doesn't happen in a bubble. It's heavily influenced by the world around you. Your cultural background, the technology you have access to, and the way you're taught all play a big role in how you learn. A good learning environment is one that supports and includes everyone, provide the right resources, and encourage teamwork. It's also important to have a positive and supportive classroom where you feel safe to ask questions, take quizzes, and share your ideas. The learning environment isn't just a background. It's an active part of the learning process that shapes how you feel about learning and how successful you are. By creating a positive and supportive context for learning, teachers can help students thrive and reach their full potential.
strategic thinking. Metacognitive factors include reflecting, setting goals, selecting strategies, and monitoring progress, fostering self-regulation in learners. Imagine your brain as a workshop. Cognitive factors are the tool and raw materials inside. Your ability to understand information, connect it to what you already know, and use strategies to tackle complex tasks. These are the essential components for building knowledge. However, just having the tool isn't enough. That's where metacognitive factors come in. They're like the workshop supervisor, which is you. Metacognition involves stepping back to assess your learning process, setting goals, choosing the right tools, which is study methods, monitoring your progress, and adjusting your approach when things aren't working. So, while cognitive skills are about how you acquire knowledge, metacognitive skills are about managing and optimizing the learning process, turning you into a more self-aware, efficient, and independent learner who knows how to learn best.
Hi, I am Joshua Arochea, and today I will be discussing the topic motivational and affective factors. So, motivational factors are the drives, goals, and interests that push someone to act, like the desire for achievement or the need for external rewards. Affective factors, on the other hand, are related to emotional feelings and attitudes that influence behavior and thinking, such as joy, curiosity, or fear. Together, these factors significantly impact the person's effort, engagement, and overall performance in any activity, including learning. Think of it this way. Motivational factors are what you get going, like wanting a good grade or loving a subject. Because of this, it gives us the motivation to keep learning, to deepen our learning towards a subject, and because of this factor, we really learn from that specific subject. And when it comes to affective factors, when we say affective factors, these are the factors that make you feel about your learning towards a subject, like excitement and frustration. Together, they decide how much effort you will put in and whether you stick with it, like studying hard because you're both driven to succeed and genuinely enjoy learning. Motivational and affective factors. 1. Motivational and emotional influence on learning. What and how much is learned influenced by the learner's motivation to learn, in turn, is influenced by the individual's emotional state, beliefs, interests, and habits of thinking. A learner's motivation shaped by their emotional state, beliefs, interests, and habits of thinking significantly dictates what and how much they learn, highlighting the crucial role factors in educational process. In simpler terms, how well you learn depends on how much you learn, which in itself depends on your emotional beliefs, interests, and mindset. 2. Intrinsic motivation to learn. The learner's creativity, higher order being, and natural curiosity all contribute to motivation to learn. Intrinsic motivation is stimulated by tasks of optimal novelty and difficulty relevant to personal interests and providing for personal choice and control. Intrinsic motivation in learners is enhanced when the tasks align with their creativity, higher order thinking, and natural curiosity, particularly if the tasks offer an optimal balance of novelty and difficulty relate to their personal interests and provide opportunities for personal choice and control, hereby fostering a deeper engagement and enthusiasm for learning. When learning activities tap into our creativity, it challenges you in a good way, and connect with what you naturally curious about. You become more motivated, especially when you have some say in what and how you learn. Effects of motivation on effort. Acquisition of complex knowledge and skill requires extended learner effort and guided practice. Without learners' motivation to learn, the willingness to exert these efforts is unlikely without coercion. The successful acquisition of complex knowledge and skills fundamentally requires extended learner effort and guidance practice, an endeavor that is inherently unlikely to occur willingly without the learner's intrinsic motivation, often necessitating internal coercion in its absence. Learning difficult things takes a lot of hard work and structured help. You're only going to do that hard work if you really want to learn. If you don't want to learn, you probably won't bother unless someone picks you.
Hello everyone, my name is Ira Shane de los Reyes Ruela, and I'm here to discuss about the developmental and social factors. So, developmental and social factors are conditions and influences on individuals' growth and well-being. It encompasses the internal aspects like physical, emotional, and intellectual development, and external elements such as family, community, culture, and socio-economic status. These factors significantly shape learning social skills and overall life outcomes, highlighting how a positive, supportive environment that considers individual developmental stage can foster effective learning and healthy development. Now let's go to developmental influence on learning. Developmental influence on learning encompasses physical, intellectual, emotional, and social factors that shape a learner's capabilities and how they learn most effectively. To optimize learning, educators must acknowledge that individuals' growth across physical, intellectual, emotional, and social domains presents varied opportunities and limitations, requiring instruction to be developmentally appropriate and engaging for each learner. Factors such as family, culture, prior schooling, and positive communications between adults and children also shape a learner developments and interpretations of experiences. Recognizing these individuals' differences, including those related to disabilities, is crucial for creating effective learning environments where learners can thrive. Lastly, we have the social influence on learning. It involves how interactions with others and a broader social context shape an individual's learning process. These influences can be positive, such as through collaborations, peer support, and family engagements, or negative, manifesting as peer pressure, distractions, and lack of belonging. Learning is deeply affected by social connection, like how we interact, relate to, and communicate with others. Opportunities to work together on tasks and engage in social interactions can significantly boost learning. So that's all for developmental and social factors.
Hi everyone, so in this video we will going to talk about the individual differences factors. So when we talk about individual differences factors, it says that all students are different and unique. They have their own strengths, weaknesses, and ways of learning. So as a future educator, as a future teacher, we need to understand that there is no single way to teach that will fit all students. So this individual difference factors is focused on three important points, which are the individual differences in learning and diversity, and last one is standards and assessment. So let's dive in. So the first one is the individual differences in learning. So it says that learners have different strategies, approaches, and capability for learning. These differences are influenced by their prior knowledge, experiences, abilities, and background. So it says that individual differences in learning means that students do not learn in exactly the same way. Each learner has a preferred style. For example, some may learn better through visuals while others prefer listening or doing activities. So because of these differences, there is no one-size-fits-all method in education. So the second one is learning and diversity. So when we talk about learning and diversity, means that learning becomes more effective when we respect and include the learner's cultural, linguistics, and social background. So it says that learning and diversity mean that students perform better when their identity, language, and culture are valued inside the classroom. Respecting diversity makes education inclusive and meaningful. Because if students feel that their background is acknowledged, they become more confident, motivated, and willing to participate. On the other hand, ignoring diversity can make students feel left out or less capable. So that is learning and diversity. So the last one, we have the standards and assessment. So when we talk about the standards and assessment, setting high but achievable standards and using assessment properly is important to track learning and guide improvement. It says that standards and assessment help both teachers and students understand what skills and knowledge are being learned, what is working well, and what areas need support. So assessment should not only be about giving grades, it should also be used as a tool to improve. This include diagnostic tests or to know what students already know, process assessment or to monitor progress, and lastly, the outcome assessment to measure results. So that's all about the standards and assessment.